You heard something from your yard last May, and you had no idea what it was. It came from high in the canopy, a rich, flute-like whistle, unlike anything else your yard normally produces. You looked up and caught a flash of deep orange and black between the upper leaves. It was gone before your eyes could fully land on what you were seeing. That was a Baltimore Oriole, and it had traveled over 2,000 miles to reach your specific yard. Most people who maintain feeders year-round never see a Baltimore Oriole at all. The bird moves through your neighborhood at canopy height during a window most people are still sleeping through. By the time you step outside with coffee, the most vivid part of the morning is already over. Welcome back to Wild Bird Mind. Subscribe before you leave, because this bird's arrival timing is more precise than most people know. Today, we are going inside the 2-week window that brings this bird to your backyard each spring. There are 8 things happening during that window that most people miss completely every year. Stay until the end, because the last one explains why certain yards see this bird every year. What you are about to learn happens in your yard every spring without you knowing it is there. Understanding it does not require anything other than putting the right thing out at the right time. The Baltimore Oriole spends the winter in Central America, deep in warm forest canopy all season. Then in late March, something in the bird's biology shifts, and the northward movement begins. The trigger is not the weather at the destination, which the bird has never yet visited. The trigger is photoperiod, the changing ratio of daylight to darkness that repeats identically each year. The migration is not a choice the bird makes by consciously weighing options available to it. Its endocrine system responds to that light signal, and the journey launches automatically each spring. The Oriole carries no map and no memory of the specific route from any previous year. What it carries is a set of biological instruments more reliable than anything technology has yet replicated. The combination of magnetic sensitivity and star pattern reading gives it navigational precision across thousands of miles. By the time it crosses the Gulf of Mexico, the bird is already navigating using star patterns. It also uses magnetic field detection and learned geographic landmarks all along its route. It knows the general direction of your yard, even having never once visited it before. The precision of that internal navigation system is something researchers are still working to fully explain. What is not in question is that the bird arrives in your region with extraordinary consistency every spring. The 2-week window is not a rough estimate, and it holds steady across many years of observation. Research tracking Baltimore Oriole arrivals shows the window at each latitude is remarkably consistent. Pennsylvania sees the bulk of its Oriole passage in the same 7-day span every single year. Late winters and unusual weather do not shift that core window by more than a few days. Across most Mid-Atlantic and Great Lakes states, that window falls in late April and early May. Miss it, and you wait an entire year before the next opportunity opens up for you. The birds do not linger because northern breeding grounds carry a firm and non-negotiable biological deadline. A male arriving late to the breeding territory loses nesting chances to the males who got there first. The 2-week window in your yard is a rest stop on a journey with real biological stakes. It is not a casual visit from a bird with nowhere particular to be next. Every day the Oriole spends at your feeder is a day subtracted from its breeding season window. The urgency you cannot see in that orange flash between the leaves is real, and it is constant. A bird that looks relaxed on your orange spike is running an internal biological clock you cannot see. Every hour it spends resting at your feeder is being measured against the deadline it is carrying north. Here is what the male Oriole is actually doing during those 2 weeks in your yard. He is not lost, he is not confused, and he is not displaced from somewhere else. He is feeding hard to replace the energy burned crossing the Gulf of Mexico and the lower states. He is also singing from the highest available perch to broadcast his presence to females in the corridor. What he is not doing is wandering randomly through the neighborhood, hoping to find something to eat. Every stop a migrating bird makes is a calculated energy investment in a journey with a hard endpoint. Your yard either returns that investment or it does not, the bird knows within minutes. That flute-like whistle is a mate attraction call aimed at every female Oriole within earshot of your yard. Females moving through the same migration corridor are listening and making precise fitness evaluations. The song is not decorative. It is an audition, and the females passing through your canopy are the entire audience for it. A male singing from a yard with visible and reliable food demonstrates both personal fitness and resource quality. The female evaluates the territory as much as she evaluates the male singing from inside it. Your yard is part of what she is deciding about every time she passes through the canopy above. The single most effective thing you can do to stop a migrating oriole costs almost nothing at all. Orioles are strongly drawn to the color orange and to fresh nectar and ripe fruit as food sources. A halved orange on a spike near the outer yard edge is the most reliable tool you have. The timing of that orange matters exactly as much as the orange itself being out there. It needs to be visible before the arrival window opens, not after you hear the first whistle. Grape jelly in a small cup placed beside the orange dramatically increases the attractiveness of your station. Baltimore Orioles consume grape jelly with a preference documented at feeding stations across the entire eastern corridor. These three offerings together create a rest-stop signal that reads clearly from the air above. An oriole at canopy height can detect a bright orange food source from distances that would surprise you. The bird landing on your orange in the first hour stopped because your yard was readable from altitude. A nectar feeder with fresh solution hung near the orange doubles the signal your yard is sending upward. This combination costs under $10.30 minutes of your time each spring. Birds passing over a yard with nothing visible do not circle back to check a second time. They make one assessment from altitude and either descend or continue flying north without hesitation. Your only job is to be ready before that single assessment happens from altitude. Most backyards are completely invisible to a passing Baltimore Oriole, and the reason is almost always the same. The yard sends no visual signal that tells a transiting bird this location is worth a stop. The birds that do stop in your yard are making a split-second cost-benefit calculation from altitude. A yard that offers nothing visible from above never even enters that calculation for the bird. You are not competing with other yards in your neighborhood for this bird's attention. You are competing with the bird's own decision to keep flying rather than descend and land at all. Migrating birds travel at canopy height or above, scanning the landscape for specific readable cues as they move. They look for forest edges, visible water sources, fruit-bearing trees, and flashes of color signaling food. A clean suburban lawn with a small feeder near the house reads as nothing from the air. Yards that consistently receive orioles have native fruit trees near the outer edges where birds can see them. They also put orange food sources out before the window opens every single year without fail. The difference between a yard that sees orioles every spring and one that never does is timing. It is also the positioning of food sources far enough from the house to be visible from altitude. Both of those things are entirely within your control before the window opens each spring. Stay with me, because this last section is the one most people carry with them the longest. I want to be very clear about this because it matters more than anything else we have covered. The Baltimore Oriole does not randomly select rest stops each year as it migrates through your region. It builds a mental map of reliable locations and returns to those locations with remarkable consistency. The implication of that research is more significant than most people realize when they first hear it. If a Baltimore Oriole visited your yard last spring and found food, it did not forget your location. It encoded your yard as a reliable point on the route it will run again next year. That encoding brings it back to the same tree, in the same yard, within a 2-day window. Researchers studying banded orioles found birds returning to the same backyard within 2 days of the same date. The same bird, the same yard, the same week of May, 2 consecutive years in a row. Not because it knew your face, but because your yard left a reliable resource memory on its route. A yard that fed a passing oriole once stands a real chance of seeing that same bird again. The first year you put the orange out on time is when your yard enters the route. Every year after that, your yard is already on the mental map. It is following north each spring. The relationship you build with a passing oriole is not dramatic, and it does not announce itself. It is a quiet accumulation of reliable appearances until the bird treats your yard as a certainty. One morning, during those 2 weeks, the orange will be untouched when you go to check it. The flute-like song that filled the canopy for 5 days will simply not be there anymore. There was no farewell. It responded to the same internal signal that launched it from Central America 2 months earlier. It left before your alarm went off, already heading north toward the boreal forests of Canada. There, it will weave a hanging nest precise enough to survive months of heavy wind and rain. The female oriole builds that nest alone, binding it to 2 forked branches with plant fibers. The nest swings in the wind rather than resisting it, which is what keeps it intact. Most people who see a Baltimore Oriole for the first time describe the same experience afterward. A moment of disbelief followed by the desperate wish that they had been ready with something to offer. The color of the male, in full breeding plumage, stops people in ways photographs cannot prepare you for. The orange of a Baltimore Oriole against spring canopy is among the most vivid things your backyard shows. You get approximately 2 weeks each spring, and then the window closes for another year. The rest of the year that bird is in Central America, building toward the moment it returns. The 2 weeks you had were the entire annual relationship available to you until the following April. Next spring, before the last days of April, put the orange out before the window opens again. Make the outer edges of your yard visible and readable from the air before the bird arrives. The oriole from last May already have your yard marked on the route it follows north. You have one chance each year to confirm it made the right choice when it stopped here. Most people spend that chance looking up through the leaves, wondering what that song was. Now you know what it was. Now you know what to do next, April, before the window opens. Have you ever heard that flute-like whistle above your yard in late April or early May? Tell me what you heard and what time of year it happened. I want to know. I read everyone. I will see you.